Okay, we've had lots of definitions. We're not finished with those yet. However, all of that together is now going to let us design experiments. That's what this whole section is about, is the design of an experiment. All the different pieces that go together in order to make a valid experiment. Okay, so without further ado, let's define experiment. An experiment is a controlled study. So remember we talked about observational and experiment. So this is an experiment. Controlled study conducted to determine the effect varying one or more of the explanatory variables or factors has on a response variable. Remember the explanatory variable, we've talked about these definitions and now we're putting them into play. So the explanatory variable is that input value, what it is that you're working with. The response is what happens because of that, right? So that's what's happening here. So we're using these terms that we've already learned. Any combination of the values of these factors is called a treatment, all right? Okay. So let's lay this out. An experimental unit. So here's all the different components of an experiment. So it's good to know what all these different pieces are, and then we're going to be able to put them together and see them in an example. So the first one that we're looking at is an experimental unit, all right, is a person, object, object, or some other well-defined item. All right, that's what we're looking for. And so all of these things are which the treatment is applied. So it doesn't have to be a person, an object, just something that is defined, a well-defined item, whatever it is that I'm working with, and that I'm going to put it through the treatment. All right. So the combination of these values of factors, whatever it is that you're doing the experiment on, that is your experimental unit. All right. If you have a subject, that's where the experimental unit is a person. So specifically, you can have all these different experimental units that you have that you're working with, but if it's a subject, then I know that I'm talking about a person in particular, not a plant or, I don't know, whatever item or object that it is. It's specifically a person if they're called subjects. Okay, it just kind of narrows it down a little bit. All right, so a control group, all right, here's our next little piece of it, is they serve as a baseline treatment. Serves as, I forgot the word serves. Hang on. That serves as a baseline treatment that can be used to compare to other treatments. All right, so this serves as a baseline treatment that can be used to compare to other treatments is what's happening. So the control group is like the basics there, right? Like I'm not doing anything to this one. This is the control group. It's exactly how it is. We're starting off here without messing with it so that we can see how whenever we do treatments to other groups, then how it's affected because we're not doing anything to this one. That's what makes it a control group. All right, nice. Then a placebo, all right? So a placebo is a treatment that looks like the real treatments in the study. Treatment that looks just like the real treatment in the study. Treatment. Oh, I tried to salvage it, but it didn't. TREAT in the study. All right. So it looks just like it. It tastes like it. It smells like it. It has the physical characteristics, right? It just like. So there's no telling the difference. All right. So medication that looks, tastes, smells exactly like it, but it doesn't have the medicinal quality or doesn't have the active ingredient. Right? That's a placebo. It's a fake out is what it is. So it's the fake and not the real. All right, blinding. All right. Blinding refers to non-disclosure of the treatment. Oops, I messed around with that. Hang on. Non-disclosure of the treatment. An experimental unit is receiving. Oops, experimental unit is receiving. So non-disclosure of the treatment is what I'm not telling you, right? You're blind going into this. You're not sure. You don't know if you're getting the placebo or the actual drug. You don't know. So because of that, that's called blinding. Now there's a couple different ways that we do blinding experiments. You can have a single blind or a double blind. So in a single blind experiment, the experimental unit or the subject, depending on what it is that we're working with here, right, does not know which treatment he or she is receiving. Does not know. Does not know which treatment. That's a single blind. Only the unit, the experimental unit or the subject does not know the treatment. In a double blind, that's a single. So just the subject doesn't know. In a double blind, neither the experimental unit nor the researcher know what's going on. Neither the experimental unit or the researcher in contact with the experimental unit knows which treatment. So then there can't be any bias there, right? That's kind of the goal. If I know I'm giving you the actual drug, then I may be looking for specific signs where if I don't know if you're getting the placebo, then I have no clue. I'm just going with what are the facts. If I don't know, then I can't be persuaded one way or the other. All right? Does that make sense? That's the double blind when no one knows what's going on. Okay? Well, not no one. I should rephrase that. Neither the experimental unit or the researcher. The other, like the researcher is the one that is collecting the data and pulling that from there. The manager of the experiment will know how that is, but they're not hands-on with what's going down. Okay, I just want to be clear about that.